Alright, here's how you guys want to start once the dog has established himself in your household. For number one, I'll prefer if you put the collar on every time you take him out and you do something good with him. Right before the kids are playing, right before you feed him, or he goes out for a walk, you should put the collar on. The electric collar needs to be put on right underneath his jaw, behind his ears, and when you buckle it, you want to make sure that your fingers are out, not in the collar, and your hair is out a little bit, that you can push the pin, and you buckle it just like that by pushing on the buckle, and then that should fasten it. So the dog, you've seen what the dog knows. I don't want to say the words right now when I don't mean it. What you want to start out with is to maybe combine the electric stimulation with the leash influence, and I would prefer the timing to be such that you say first what you want, and within a second you make it happen. If you see that the dog wants to do it already, then you don't need to make it happen. I should get into a correctional mode where you see he doesn't do it after you say it once, and then you make him do it. So what I'm trying to say is you need to make him do it right after you say it, regardless. If you see a response already, then you stop, make him do it. So don't make your influence depending on what the dog is doing. Make the influence depending on what you just said. Let me demonstrate this. Okay. Always have your finger on the button. I want you to be on a very low level. Sit. So I said the word, held the button down, and helped him with a physical influence with my leash in the right direction. Of course, SIT needs to be having an influence upward, and the DOWN is going to have an influence downward. Down. He already reads what I'm doing, so I don't really have a chance to hit the button or make contact with him by the collar. Also, we like to secure it by saying the word again. Down. And the green buzz comes on if the dog is doing it right. I'll say the word and then I pull. Down. So we make sure he has an optimum understanding of what is required. He has to listen. Down. The beep comes on, makes him feel safe. Now I will say something. Down. He is highly anticipating that I will call him now, and I will pretty soon, but I want to make sure that down, that he is not anticipating too much, but listening. Down. Good. Down. Pocket here. Good. Good boy. Good. We can do the same thing with an SIT. Pocket. Pocket. Sit. Good. Sit. Different direction. Sit. So the same counts for recalling the dog. If you call him with his name and H-E-R-E, you want to make sure that you hit the button right after you say it, and as soon as the response starts rolling, you want to release the button, and I want you to be on a continuous setting and a very low setting that the dog can find out how to turn it off with you first of all. We want to have, after the calling or after the cue, after the command is said, 1 second to have a response time that he can process the information, and then you hit the button. Very important is that you don't hit the button or don't do anything if you see the response already starting. Because if the response starts, then if you would do something, then you would go the opposite route. You would actually put some negatives to a response that already is rolling. You got to make sure that you have your influence, be it the collar or the leash, right in between the cue and the start of the behavior. That would be perfect. Okay, let's go. He's pretty pooped out now after this session, as you can see. Bucket here. Green tone comes on. Because he responded right off the bat, so I didn't even have a chance to... He didn't give me a second in between to start hitting any buttons. So he knows how to beat the system. So every time he responds and I don't have to hit the button, or I don't get a chance to hit the button, I should say, he is reinforced because he beat the system. So as this is ongoing, we will have a pretty stabilized behavior because it's been constantly reinforced. With the recall, I want to say that you have to be aware of your surroundings, be aware that if the dog is in a very strange place and if distractions are very high, you might be dealing with overriding signals, which means that your signal is not really received as strong as if the environment would be free of distractions. So meaning that if there's just a person standing there, as we had it happen here, that that's a very mild distraction. But if the dog, for example, would chase a rabbit or play with this other dog behind the fence, then you can count on maybe being more successful if you are closer to him, and if you may have attached a rope to underline it a little bit with physical influence, what you're doing with the collar.